Hey, what's happening, my network marketing friends? Todd Falcone here. Welcome back to another episode, and today's going to be a little bit different subject matter than I typically do with just straight network marketing and direct sales training. What I want to talk about today is preparing both your family and your business for this whole coronavirus thing that's going on without the panic, right? Now, I'm not going to get into, first of all, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what's going to happen. I think a good philosophy is prepare for the worst, but expect and hope for the best, right? So nobody really knows unless you're in, with the CDC or the World Health Organization, what's up. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there's no way that you cannot have heard what's going on or have an idea that we got some stuff happening right now. And I think to some extent it's unprecedented. At least in my life, it's unprecedented. And I've been here for 53 years. I wasn't around for the 1918 thing. I mean, right now you've got Italy basically on quarantine. There's some crazy stuff going on. And I want to talk about, just for a few minutes, the importance of prepping, right? Prepping for your family and your ability to just have the essentials, the things that you need, as well as preparing to, be kind of potentially in a lockdown situation, and being able to continue to propel your business forward, since most of you or all of you that are following me are involved in network marketing or direct selling. So here's the things that I want. First of all, I want to talk about preparing for your family. Like years ago, 4 or 5 years ago it was, when Ebola came to town. And, I think it was maybe the first time that's really ever happened, if I recall at least, where we had people with Ebola in the United States. And that's a pretty bad thing. I thought, wow, well, if the zombie apocalypse were to happen, which, we certainly hope that would never happen, how prepared are we as a family? And I thought to myself, we're not prepared at all. Like, we got food in our house for 2 weeks maybe, and then we got no other food. And so that actually put me into motion, into thinking about and then specifically taking actions to make sure that my family was prepared if something really big were to ever happen. And so, look, I'm not here to scare you, but I think it's a good idea to be prepared, both from the standpoint of protecting your family and having the essentials that your family needs, as well as preparing to be, kind of in a lockdown situation at home. And most people probably, I don't want to say most, but there's a lot of people that build their business at home. They don't have to do meetings. They don't have to do presentations out in public, but there are a lot of people that do. A lot of people are still very, Party Plan is very reliant on doing in-home presentations and going out and networking and seeing people. And it may not be everything that they do, but in some cases it is. It's all that they do. And if you're in a Party Plan situation, and that's all you do, and then all of a sudden, well, you guys are on quarantine, or the town's on quarantine, what are you going to do? You need to expect, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So and I'm going to go in a couple different directions. I got no notes in front of me. I'm just going to have just a straight up chat with you, just about just being smart, right? So actually, before I get into that, let me go back to just basic necessities, right? So if, for example, you were, and we've seen these toilet paper fights, and I've been to my grocery stores, I've been to Costco, I've seen people going nuts over toilet paper and paper towels, and trying to get hand sanitizer. Weeks ago, I ordered some masks and gloves and other things, and it was, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get some of those things, because there was already a run on some of that stuff, even going into late February before we moved into March. And so basic necessities, what do humans need to have in order to survive? You need food and water, and you need shelter, okay? So if I was in your shoes, and we don't know what's going to happen, and I certainly hope that, we don't go into a lockdown mode, but look inside of your kitchen and how much food you got. Do you have water? And what if the water supply actually I'm not saying it's, and I'm not trying to throw anybody into a panic here, but what happens all of a sudden that your water supply was contaminated? Do you have the ability to filter that water? Do you have bottled water, enough bottled water to survive for a period of time? Most people are going to say no to that question. So, years ago when this whole Ebola thing happened, I ended up purchasing storable food. That's something you can go Google that kind of stuff. But there's, I think I purchased it from Wise Food Company at the time, and we bought food for our family that was, storable, dried food that if and when or whatever, hopefully never happens, we would still be able to eat, right? And we bought these Berkey, that's the brand, Berkey water filters. We bought the kind that you could just basically you can filter pond scum or pool water, pretty much any water, and they have the ability. It's like a very powerful water filtration system for emergency uses. The brand is Berkey. That's what we ended up purchasing. But I think you got to look at basic necessities. Like if you were think about this. Just look at it this way: you're in lockdown mode for 8 weeks. You can't leave your house. If you couldn't leave your house at all for 8 weeks, could you survive as a family? Could your entire family survive on what you have in your house? If the answer is no, then you're ill prepared. And so basic human necessities, food, water, a roof over your head. You probably already got that. So you got the roof. What if the electricity were to go out? Do you have plenty of blankets, batteries for flashlights, candles, lighting? Are your gas tanks in your automobiles full so that you wouldn't want to go? In fact, I remember there was a time where we had an outage when I was living in Seattle, and the electricity was out for like 7 days straight, and the gas stations actually ran out of gas. And so if you're sitting at home and you're running on empty, you couldn't even go get gas. So these are just like simple, smart decisions, not panic decisions, but look, what kind of foods can you store at home that would last for an extended period of time, whether it's canned goods or dried goods like rice, beans, things like that. Obviously, vegetables are going to spoil, things like that. But just think to yourself, not freaking out, not panicking, but just being prepared. Food, water, the ability, roof over your head, keeping keeping light where you need the light if the electricity were to go out, having the ability to filter water if your water supply ran out. These are just very simple prepping basics, very simple stuff. So I'm not going to go any deeper into that because this is not a prepper podcast, but I do think preparation is important, both from the standpoint of protecting your family and your livelihood, as well as your business. Now, on the business side, prepping for what may happen. We don't know if anything's going to happen, whether we go into lockdown or some kind of quarantine mode, wherever you might be. Could you continue to run your business if you were in total lockdown mode without it suffering? And if the answer is yes, then cool, then you're set. But people that, for example, going back to the party plan situation, if I was in a party plan deal and we were party plan, and we did it all that way by taking our stuff around and going to people's houses and doing in-homes, and we had no other strategy in place, I think it would be a wise idea to implement a strategy where if you needed to shift gears immediately, you could just shift gears immediately and go into this new strategy and just go, we're doing it all on Zoom, or we're doing it on conference call, or you're doing it on whatever you're doing it on. So that you could just literally snap your finger and shift gears and you're moving in this different direction because that avenue is no longer available to you. So that's really what it comes down to, is just looking at your current situation, both with your family and your ability to, have the water, have the food that you need, have the, whatever other essential ingredients or essential things that you might need to survive. If we were ever in that situation, not saying that we will be, but we don't know. And then on the business side, going, okay, if something were to dry up in my business, in other words, I can't leave the house to go do in-homes, do I have a way of doing it at home without having to be doing in-homes? That's primarily the party plan side of the direct sales business. But then, and I've talked about this quite a bit, and I actually had a conversation this morning around this very subject, talked to a friend of mine while I was getting ready to do a meeting, and she was totally locked out of Facebook, couldn't even log back in. She's in a panic, 2 days out of business. And we've actually had this discussion, and I've had this discussion with you if you followed me for any period of time. I think if you are solely reliant on one thing, one way, and that's your only way, I don't think that's really smart. If we expect things to always be as they are and that things will never change, and we become too reliant on one thing, whether it be we do everything on Facebook, and then if you got booted off of Facebook, you're out of business, that's probably not good. So probably a better idea would be to prep ahead of time and go, well, if Facebook were to go block me or out me or whatever the case might be, which has nothing to do with coronavirus, by the way, that we could just simply shift gears and we could run to Zoom and do our Zooms, or we could do conference calls, or we could do webinars, or we've got other ways of communicating to our team, email, text message, whatever it might be, not just communicating in a Facebook group. Then you're just being smart. It's the same thing as like being too reliant on like a company. If you're a company owner and you got one big client that's responsible for 90% of your business and you lose that client, 90% of your business goes away. This is just thinking a few steps ahead. So again, I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know who does, but I'm keeping an eye on it, and I'm making sure that my family is prepared for if we have to be in the house for a month or 2 months without being able to leave, that we have enough food and we have enough clean water to be able to, and light if the electricity were to go out, and just like essential things that you would need if something were to happen. And the reality is most people are not even close to prepared. Like I had multiple discussions when this whole thing happened a few years ago, and very few of my friends were even remotely close to prepared for if something were to happen, right? So it's like you're, planning for the worst and hoping for the best, right? So again, I don't want to scare you guys. I'm no scientist. I'm no doctor. But I do think you should be looking at your current situation and go, all right, first and foremost, before business, protecting your family is the most important. Making sure that you guys have whatever it is that you need at your house. Just think, this is the way I would think. If we couldn't leave the house for 2 months, do we have enough stuff in this house where we could survive as a family, whatever that family is, family of 2, family of 4, family of 8, for, let's say, 2 months without ever leaving the house? Yep, okay, then you're probably good. If the answer is no, then you might want to prepare for that a little bit more. Now, again, not saying that's going to happen because I have no idea. And then on the business side of the equation, and this goes with or without like a pandemic or coronavirus outbreak or any other, just something dries up or something changes, like all of a sudden you can no longer, let's say, and I'm not saying this is ever going to happen, let's say Facebook says, we're done with network marketing. No network marketing can be discussed on Facebook. And that's all you did. It'll probably be good to have that backup plan so that, we can't do that anymore. We just go here, right? So it's just being smart. So as I wrap up this episode, which is simple, straightforward, straight talk with you guys, look at your house and your family and just ask yourself, are we prepared for, the worst? Do we have the essential things that we need in order to survive and live if we were unable to leave our house for a period of, let's say, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, for example, 3 months? I don't know. I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen because, again, I have no idea. I'm no expert in that arena. I just think it's a great idea to be prepared. And then on the business side, if your business right now is relying on you, like a lot of my business, I travel. So I do events all over the world, and I've planned ahead of time, like if I can't travel, if I've got to still be able to train and provide value to people to help them build their businesses and be able to do so from home, that plan is in place. So we could just shift gears, go, let's say I couldn't travel for 6 months. Okay, I can't travel for 6 months, then this is how we do it. We do it this way. So it's just being smart and looking at, again, 2 situations, your family situation, which, just basic survival. Food, water, roof over your head, light, heat, the essential things that you need. What are those? Candles, batteries, flashlights, whatever, basic things. And then on the business side, I'm going to end with this. 2 questions you're going to ask yourself. 1, right now, if we were put on lockdown today and we could not leave our house for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, do we have everything that we need in our house without ever having to leave the house? If the answer is no, what do we need to get? And don't be running out and panicking and like ripping toilet paper out of somebody's hands and getting in a fight at Walmart. It's craziness. And number two, if the way I'm running my business now, if I had to be home for the next 3 months and I couldn't leave my house to build my business, do we have things in play where it is truly a home-based business? I don't have to rely on anything outside of that, right? And I think those are a couple great questions to answer and to just kind of look at to figure out how prepared you are for something that may happen if something were to happen, and we never know if it does. I mean, things happen. Like, nobody expected this to happen. Nobody expected the hurricanes to happen or earthquakes to happen. Things happen. And so it's great to be prepared. It's great to be prepared for your ability to continue to make money and your ability to make sure that your family is able to survive. So I'm not sure where you're catching me. You might be on YouTube. You might be on my website, which is great. You might be on my podcast. But the rest of the details of this episode you can find at toddfalcone.com/episode 67. TODDFALCONE.com/episode 67. Stay safe out there, my friends. Be fearless. And we'll catch you on the next episode.